So, approximately 5 days ago, my dog Daisy, who's about a 60-pound mixed breed, we think has some pointer in her and maybe a few other things that we rescued from the pound in Boulder, Colorado, about 4 years ago. Well, Daisy is a thoroughbred of mixed breeds. I think she runs really fast and likes to jump. And a few months ago, she jumped and injured her knee, and one day also had the zoomies, so worsened the knee problem. And come to find out, she tore her cruciate ligament, which is basically the ACL. So gone to the vet a few times and looked at all our options, and understanding Daisy's not quite 5, she'll be 5 in April, that she has a lot of good years. She's very healthy, very um, excitable, loving life dog. So we had surgery on Tuesday, and it went well. It is quite a process to bring the dog home and keep her in a confined space. We don't have a crate, so we bought some baby gates and put her in this little space in our living area that's also got the couch, and we got cushions, and she had the cone of shame on, and we bought one of those inflatable donuts, and oh goodness, and we had to put a harness on her and use this like lift thing to go to the bathroom. There's not much dignity for Daisy these days doing her thing, but in this whole process, I understood a few different things. And one particular story I want to share with you is Daisy and eating. So, first of all, of course, we understand when she's just coming out of anesthesia, she wouldn't have as much of an appetite. So, we just gave her a little bit of food, and she was not so interested. So I literally hand fed her, which is fine. It's not the most pleasant of jobs, but whatever I need to do for Daisy. And over the course of the next few days, we're giving her medications, becoming more alert. She's moving around, anxious to do her normal thing. She thinks when she goes outside, she's going for a walk. Can't even say the word. She pops up her ears. But all I want her to do is go outside and go potty. Anyway, so the going the potty, that was a whole thing. But anyway, but with the food, as you're thinking, now we're into day 5 or 6. She's still, and she'll eat, but she won't start eating until after I've done a few things. So she has her favorite food. We've put it in her bowl. I mean, this dog will lick this bowl clean. Previous to this, like, good appetite. So she's eating typically and will come begging for more. Like, you get what you got, kiddo, because we don't want you to be an overweight dog. And we don't give her processed foods. We don't give her, puppuccinos from Starbucks or anything like that. We feed her good, healthy food. And so every meal, even this morning, I put the bowl in front of her, which was the food that she loves. She turned her nose up at it, even though she just walked outside, with the sling and everything else, and is moving and seems to be in a good mood, wagging her tail. But when I put the food in front of her, she's like, I want no part of it. She just stuffed her nose up. And so I'm like, okay, so I take a spoon now and I feed it to her. So she'll take it out of the spoon, or if I scoop it in my hand, she'll eat it. But that takes 5 or 6 times before she actually will then okay, I'll eat some. And then she'll take a few more bites, but then she refuses to eat until I spoon fed her again. And then she's like licking the spoon. So I'm like, the food is the same in the spoon or whether it's in front of you. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And so what was interesting was the really how my dog has taught me a few things. And it comes back to the mindfulness piece, because I really am trying to utilize mindfulness in teaching patients and people that I work with how important it is for so many parts of our life. But this was a really interesting thing. I just kind of did a thought experiment on what was Daisy's lessons to me, because I truly believe dogs and animals, they have it figured out. Well, they don't have this prefrontal cortex, which gets us in trouble with the thinking brain, but they have it figured out as far as just living in the moment. And if we could reflect kind of what our dogs are doing, or reflect on why they're doing it, that might actually give us some more intuition into our own behaviors. So this is my thoughts, and I'd love to hear what you guys think. Let me pull up my notes here. And so first of all, living in the present, right? So Daisy's not dwelling in the past discomfort. She's not worrying about her future meal. She's just literally entirely thinking about this moment, right? She's focusing on the current experience of being fed. And so that alone is just saying, okay, let's see what's going on right now at this moment. Her intuition is not to eat out of the bowl. And next, it's adaptability and resilience, right? So, despite the uncomfort and the unfamiliar situation following her surgery, Daisy is adapting to this new feeding method. I might be creating a new habit. We'll see. We'll see how this goes in the next few weeks. And then this highlights really kind of the importance of the flexibility and ability to for new circumstances, right? I think with mindfulness, that's really a key piece of understanding we need to be open to change. And so Daisy's appreciating that, or she's made me appreciate that. Trust and connection, right? So the act of the spoon feeding really signifies her trust and then strengthens our bond, right? Because I'm caring for her. She's understanding that I'm caring for her, that there's an emotional response, I'm sure, from her as she's eating, gets her dopamine going. And it's just really, and I think an important reminder that nurturing relationships and the comfort and security that come from genuine connections with others, right? So we can't forget those who help us, right? How do we nurture those? Or someone who needs help, like our own children, for example, we might nurture. Acceptance, right? My dog accepts help without resistance, uh, which can be seen as a form of mindfulness. I think, it just really teaches us to accept our current circumstances and situations and help by being offered by others without judgment. And then recognizing it's okay to rely on others during challenging times. I think so many of us, especially in the United States, we're like, we have to pull up our bootstraps and we're going to do it. And if you can't do it by yourself and just will your way through it, then, well, you're a loser and you just failed. Which is really, I think, another important reminder to nurture your community, and especially a community that has the same values as that you do. Because if you're sitting with someone or struggling with, maybe taking on new healthy habits, and you're not alone, you're all alone, and people around you are mindlessly continuing to, destroy their health by eating processed junk food and feeding their emotions instead of, feeding their bodies. It's really hard sometimes not to be pulled back into that yourself because it takes a lot of fortitude to move forward. Anyway, went on a tangent there. So I think the next thing that's really important here is starting small, right? There's the willingness to begin eating independently after being spoon fed. Just a few bites suggests the mindfulness principle of just kind of taking small steps. I think when you're in the present moment, you have two options. You can either accept the current situation or life circumstance, or you can act upon it. And I'm not saying react, but after thoughtful space and allowing whatever is occurring to be with you for a moment, and then deciding in your heart of hearts, is this right for me? How should I act? Then you make a choice that's probably going to be more aligned with your values and lead to a more positive outcome that you're hoping for. And that can always start small, and it starts small in the moment with your decision, the first decision that you can make in this moment. And so Daisy makes a choice to eat from a small bite. And then she's like, okay, I'm going to continue that. I remember this makes me feel good. It tastes good. And then, of course, listening to your body, right? Being intuitive. So Daisy's listening to her body's needs at that moment, even though I can't reason with her, is like, you need to eat this so you will heal. But she's just responding to her current moment. She's not currently necessarily hungry, because maybe the medications are interfering with her appetite, maybe a little bit of pain, even though I'm giving her pain meds as prescribed by the veterinarian. Don't worry, I'm not giving her medications. But I think, we often don't listen to our bodies. We respond to either eating or stress or procrastination or anxiety or worry, whatever you want to call it. We try to deflect, right? We try to avoid the unpleasant feeling, right? The the stress or whatever it is that we're trying to avoid. We do something instead of sitting with that emotion and accepting it. And once you accept it, it really is not as unpleasant as it seems in the beginning, that first reaction. But anyway, I think when you're stressed and we're eating, for an example, or you procrastinate something because you don't want to deal with it, you think it's going to be a very unpleasant task. Sometimes just getting started in a very small way will help you. So, that journey of 1,000 miles, as they say, which seems really hard and long and arduous. Well, when you think of it as a whole, sure. But what can you do right now is just take the first step. And that first step isn't so hard. It's a thought. We think it is hard, but it's not. For example, when we listen to our body with food, right? So instead of just reacting to an emotion or stress or anxiousness and saying, "Oh, I don't want to eat this," because when you fight it and that resistance, it makes you want to think about food even more. But instead, it's like go upstream and say, well, what was the emotion that caused that original me wanting to go eat something, even though I just ate lunch? Or was it this email that stressed me out or whatever? And just turning to the emotion and asking some questions like, okay, I'm having some anxiety or stress. Why am I having it? And then in this moment, do I really want to eat? Is that going to make me feel any better? Or is there something else I can do? Maybe I can bring more mindfulness into this moment by, grounding myself with what I call like the five senses grounding, right? So, looking at something you're grateful for with your vision, your hearing, your smell, your taste, and feeling. And that puts you here. Maybe it's a deep breathing exercise that will give you time and space from the initial craving or desire to do something and get you more present and grounded in the moment. So, anyway, that all came from me spoon feeding Daisy. It's literally living in the present, adaptability and resilience, trust and connection, acceptance, starting small, and listening to one's body. And I think there's going to be moments like this in all of our lives that if we take the time to just be present and think, well, I could be really annoyed because I have to spoon feed Daisy, or I can go, wow, this is kind of interesting. I accept at the moment this is what Daisy needs. I'm willing to give it to her because I love her unconditionally. And what can this moment teach me as a person who's interacting with this animal at this point, my fourth child? And this is what I came up with. I think there's so many other things in life that we just robotically walk through life day to day, and we don't sit back and think, what could this one moment teach me? Maybe it's you're stuck in traffic, and or someone just cuts you off in traffic. I think, or waiting in a long line, or someone was rude to you. Instead of reacting, going, that's interesting. Except for it is what it is, right? That person's acting the way they are. Unless you're physically in danger or something, obviously. But if you have time to sit and reflect on it, I think by asking those questions of every moment, that actually uses our muscle in our day-to-day moments, even if it's, um, you know, goodness, it could be anything. Something that causes some friction within you, whether it be small, or maybe you're like, you're juggling your keys and you dropped your keys. I'm like, okay, instead of getting frustrated with yourself and going, you pick up your keys. Oh, that's interesting. What can I learn from this? Right. And I think that will help us build our mindfulness muscle. And I think I'm going to be doing a challenge starting on Monday, and that's going to be a mindfulness walking challenge. So you can walk as long or far as you want. I think for me, what I'd like to see people do is, if you can, walk somewhere where you can see the outside, or walk outside if you can, and or at least be present in this, even if you're just walking in place looking out your window, if it's really cold where you are, and just thinking of things, or not thinking of things, or just being present as you're doing this. Maybe it's looking at the tree, but not labeling a tree, but just noticing the trees there, and then listening for something that's in the present moment. Is there new smells? Is there something you could taste, your saliva, or what are you feeling as your feet hit the ground? And I think that will be very interesting to do for 30 days and see if you don't see something change and shift in your own life. If you don't see less stress, better sleep, better exercise, you feel more refreshed. I'd be really curious to see what happens for you because I know that's been a very powerful thing for me. So, anyway, that's all there is I have for you today. And as always, as I always said, I want to be thankful for you. I'm grateful for you being here with me today. And I know you could be elsewhere with your busy lives. And so I'm going to give you a gift, and that is I am sending thoughts of joy, peace, and love your way. And know that whenever you're watching this, be it live or later, that attitude was always there. And so again, thanks for listening. And I hope you found this helpful. And if so, please comment below. I'd love to learn from you and listen. And please hit subscribe and all that stuff. You know what to do. So thank you again. And maybe there's more lessons in line for me from Daisy. We'll see. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.